Hi, this is Les and Amy from the RevGenetics Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and now on Spotify, where we do a deep dive on supplements and longevity studies.
And today we're diving into a compound that's really changing how we think about aging. It's called Procyanidin C1, or PCC1 for short.
PCC1. And the amazing thing is it's this tiny, super powerful molecule that's just, hiding inside grapeseed extract.
Exactly, hiding in plain sight. But to get why it's such a breakthrough, we have to talk about the problem it solves, which is something called cellular senescence.
Right, the zombie cells. We've talked about them before.
We have. So just a quick refresher for everyone. As you get older or your cells get stressed out, some of them just stop, they retire permanently, they become senescent.
And they're called zombie cells because they're not dead, but they're not really alive and doing their job either. They just hang around.
Yes, and that's the problem. They're terrible retirees. They don't just sit there quietly. These zombie cells are constantly pumping out this nasty inflammatory cocktail.
It's a chemical soup, basically.
A really bad one. It's called the SASP, the Senescence-Associated Secretory Phenotype. Just think of it as a constant alarm bell of inflammation that damages all the healthy cells around it.
So it's not a small issue. It's like having a tiny toxic factory in your tissues that never shuts down.
That's a perfect way to put it. This SSP is full of things that break down your tissue structure and just fuel chronic inflammation. I mean, it's linked to almost every single age-related disease. It's really the engine of aging we need to stop.
Okay, so that brings us back to PCC1. We need to get rid of these zombie cells, or at least shut them up, without hurting the good cells. And PCC1 has this really unique way of doing that, right? They call it a dual mode approach.
And this is the revolutionary part, dual mode. It means PCC1 isn't a one-trick pony. It has two completely different jobs it can do, and which job it does just depends on the dose you use.
Okay, let's break that down with the zombie analogy. So we have these zombies, and they're yelling all this inflammatory stuff, this SASP. How does PCC1 handle them at a low dose versus a high dose?
Right, so at a low dose, think of PCC1 as being a senomorphic.
Senomorphic?
Yeah.
What's that, like a zombie muzzle?
That's a great analogy, exactly. It puts a muzzle on the zombie. It doesn't kill the cell, it just silences all that toxic yelling. It shuts down the SASP.
So it stops the damage. That sounds like a great strategy for just, daily maintenance. Keep things quiet.
It's perfect for that. But what if you want to do more than just quiet them down? What if you want to clear them out completely?
Yeah, what about getting rid of the cell for good?
Well, that's where the second mode comes in. At a higher dose, PCC1 switches jobs. It becomes a senolytic.
A senolytic. So that's the cleanup crew.
Yeah, the cleanup crew. It's like calling in the zombie removal service. It very selectively tells those damaged senescent cells to, self-destruct in a clean and orderly way.
And it leaves the healthy cells alone.
It leaves the healthy cells completely alone. That's the key. So you have this one natural compound from grape seeds that can either muzzle the zombies at a low dose or clear them out at a high dose. You get to choose.
That level of control is incredible. It seems way more precise than some of the other options out there.
It is. I mean, when you compare it to synthetics like D plus Q or even other natural compounds like quercetin or fisetin, PCC1 has this clear two-stage action. It's tunable, and that makes it a much smarter and potentially safer tool to use.
That precision really feels like the future, doesn't it?
RevGenetics sponsors these deep dives.
And understanding exactly how these compounds work is, I think, so important for making smart choices for your long-term health.
Okay, so let's get into the applications, because this dual mode ability, the muzzle or the cleanup, it works all over the body. The research calls it pan-organ geroprotective.
Pan-organ, so like everywhere.
Everywhere. Brain, skin, kidneys, the immune system. It's incredibly broad.
Let's talk about something people don't always connect with aging: fibrosis. That's basically when your tissues get hard and stiff, right?
Exactly. It's like scarring, but on the inside. It happens to your skin, making it less elastic, and it happens in your organs, like your kidneys, making them less efficient. And it's driven by the SASP from those zombie cells.
So how does PCC1 stop that hardening process?
It targets one of the main SASP signals, a molecule called TGF-beta. You can think of TGF-beta as the command that tells your cells make more scar tissue.
Oh, PCC1 just turns that command off.
It turns it way down. By silencing that signal, it stops the whole scarring process in its tracks. It keeps your tissues from getting stiff and old.
That's huge. And what about the immune system? It's another area that really takes a hit as we age.
A big hit. It's called immunosenescence. Your immune system gets filled with old, tired, senescent immune cells. PCC1 acts as that cleanup crew again. It clears out the old junk.
Okay, so it takes out the trash.
It takes out the trash, but it also does something else. It supports the factory floor where you make new immune cells, your hematopoietic stem cells.
So it's a double win. You're clearing out the old, broken-down immune cells and helping your body make fresh, effective new ones.
You got it. It helps rebalance the whole system. Now, let's talk about the brain. This is maybe the most exciting part, but also the trickiest.
Because of the blood-brain barrier, right?
Yeah.
It's designed to keep things out. How do you get a molecule like PCC1 in there to clear out senescent brain cells in something like Alzheimer's?
That's the challenge. But researchers are getting very clever. They're using new technologies like wrapping the PCC1 in tiny lipid particles, nanoparticles.
Like a little Trojan horse to sneak it past the barrier.
That's exactly what it's like. And once it's inside the brain, it can get to work clearing out senescent neurons and other brain cells. And studies show this actually reduces the buildup of those toxic plaques like amyloid and tau that are hallmarks of Alzheimer's.
There's just phenomenal potential, but
Uh,
there's always a but, isn't there? What's
Yeah.
the big roadblock with PCC1 if you were to just, say, take it in a simple pill?
The but is bioavailability. It's the big catch. In its raw form, your body is actually terrible at absorbing it.
Why? What happens to it?
Most of it gets torn apart by your gut bacteria before it can even get into your bloodstream. So all that amazing potential is just lost. It never reaches the brain or the kidneys or your skin.
The delivery system is everything. If you can't get it to where it needs to go, it doesn't matter how powerful it is.
Precisely. And that's where technology comes in again. Things like phytosome technology. It's a way of wrapping the PCC1 molecule in a protective layer that helps it survive the gut and get absorbed properly.
Does it work?
Early human studies show it works really well. With a phytosome formulation, you can improve absorption by 2 or even 3 times. And you can actually measure the effect in the blood. You see a big drop in those inflammatory SASP markers, so we know it's getting in and doing its job.
Okay, so let's put this all together for everyone listening. We have this natural compound that's both super potent and tunable. You can use it to either muzzle the zombie cells or clear them out entirely.
Yeah.
It works all over the body, and we're finally figuring out how to deliver it effectively.
That's the takeaway. PCC1 really stands out because it offers that precision. It's not a sledgehammer. It's more like a scalpel. It gives us a way to naturally and intelligently manage one of the biggest root causes of aging.
It makes you wonder, the ultimate question this research brings up for me is, will we eventually shift our strategy? Instead of waiting to do these big, high-dose cleanups every so often, maybe the future is about low-dose, daily maintenance. Just keeping that muzzle on for decades to prevent the damage from ever building up in the first place. Something to think about. We hope you found today's episode on the POLIS study informative and insightful. Thank you for listening to the RevGenetics Podcast.
RevGenetics.com for the best longevity supplements on Earth.